I'm Vaughn Albury.
And I'm Adama Williams. Welcome to Ed Talk Unplugged. It's a new show produced by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education, where we delve into issues surrounding education as we feature various stakeholders, highlighting their roles, challenges, strategies, and successes throughout the education process.
That's right, Adama. It's 2021, and education worldwide has undergone a metamorphosis of sorts due to the coronavirus pandemic. Here in New Providence, most public and private schools have recently resumed face-to-face instruction using the hybrid model of learning, which requires some days learning virtually and other days face-to-face in the classroom. On today's show, we'll be looking at how the hybrid model is working in our public school system.
Yes, and we're delighted to have joining our discussion today Miss Samantha Wilson, Education Officer for Technology Integration. And anyone who knows Ms. Wilson knows that she is much more than just that.
I agree with that.
Later, we'll have two school administrators chiming in from their perspective, Mrs. Betty Taylor, Vice Principal at Anatole Rogers High School, and Mrs. Maneica Pratt, Principal at the E.P. Roberts Primary School. So, Vaughn, we anticipate an interesting discussion ahead.
We certainly do. And the discussion begins with Ms. Samantha Wilson, the Education Officer for Technology Integration. As we begin this discussion, it's important that we get a clear understanding of exactly what the hybrid model is. So tell us, what is the hybrid model as it relates to our public schools?
The hybrid model, as you would also hear interchangeably used with blended model, is something that's actually been around for a very long time around the world. Even in traditional classrooms where students went to school every single day, it simply means that some of the instruction happens in a face-to-face teacher-led, and another set of the instruction is done through technology devices or student-led through using technology or even hard copy resources.
Okay, now we know that we're aware that a lot of work has gone into executing this model, especially with the intricate detailing such as timetabling, and there's so much more involved. And I know that you are part of the team who was involved in directing this process. So tell us a bit about that.
Now, once school closed in March, and we start to anticipate that the COVID virus will be with us for a while, as we started preparing for the 2020-2021 school year, honestly, we started thinking about the hybrid model first, because we figured maybe by that time, you know, the emergency orders would be relaxed a bit. We thought that we'd be there for September. So October 5th, though, most of the schools, especially in New Providence and New Luther or whatever, we had to start remote. However, our planning from the very onset was with the hybrid, because it looked at the both extremes and married them together. So while we had schools in certain islands prepared for the face-to-face, they were able to go in face-to-face, they had a timetable that suited that, and then those schools had to go into hybrid model, the remote model, the same timetable could be used. Now we're looking at coming into the hybrid, where schools have their students coming to school on some days and staying at home on some days, where they do remote instruction. But the plan started from the very onset for this one, because this was the most complex, understanding how many children you can hold on the campus at a particular time according to social distancing, not just in the classroom, but even the campus. Bathroom allotment, what happens in the mornings when the students comes to the gate. After school, it was a lot that we needed to consider. And then the important part was the teaching and learning process, of course, because we know education is our main business. Ensuring that when students come on the campus, their engagement and the activities that happen on that campus is meaningful, and especially when we also know that some students were unable to connect remotely through the technologies in the past. So we were intentional about our planning for the hybrid model, right in terms of which subjects take priority on the ground once the students come in, even the types of activities that they do once they come on the ground, when it look at assessment and enrichment, enforcing what was learned at home.
So what kind of process went into determining which subjects were to be a priority?
Well, right off of the bat, we look at our core subjects. Even when we shut down in March, our first priority was looking at the core subjects, our math, language, science, social studies. But as we moved into the new school year as well, we also took note that, those specialist subjects, those practical subjects that need specialty labs, we definitely need to ensure that they have time to go into those labs once they return into the school. And so that we use a systematic approach in terms of looking at if you had 5 periods that you would normally go to, 3 of those periods would be face-to-face. So it was actually a whole equation that we went through in terms of a percentage of that period. And with the hybrid model now, with the timetable that is crafted, we have it where students are able to touch, and not literally, but touch every subject at least once they come on the ground. So if they're unable to connect virtually on the remote days, they still have an opportunity to meet with subjects, to meet with teachers so that they can get content during that time when they're on the school campus.
What I'd like to know, Adama, is, one size does not fit all. Which schools presented a challenge in terms of making sure that you adhere to all the health protocols and the size of that school's campus?
All right, well, you're right. One size definitely does not fit all. And see, one of the things that we tend to do is always just think about New Providence. And it's easy to do that too. Forget about the family islands that were already face-to-face, who already had challenges with teacher shortages and all of that. So while here in New Providence, we have a lot of large schools, I could think of schools like Anatole, Rogers, different challenges as it relates to school enrollment in terms of population, the amount of usable classes that they had, the amount of teachers available on the ground to also supervise those students. And so really the school administration, they were tasked with now taking what we gave them in terms of general guidance and actually tweaking it and customizing it to their particular campus. And that's why today you will see various variation of the hybrid model across the various schools, where some schools will have students coming in twice per week. Some schools are able to bring their students in every day. So it all depends on the enrollment size, the manpower that they have on the ground, and of course the available space, because we remember still safety first.
Yes,
Right.
education always.
Right.
Ms. Wilson, it has certainly been a pleasure, having you join this discussion, and you've brought clarity to, because many of us probably don't know what the hybrid model is, and we're hearing it over and repeatedly. It's not as simple as it sounds, and we certainly know that one size does not fit all. So after the break, we'll be joined by Principal of E.P. Roberts Primary School, Mrs. Maneica Pratt, and Vice Principal of Anatole Rogers High School, Mrs. Betty Taylor.
Stay with us.
I'm writing to thank you for your efforts to see the national exam through to completion. While it was challenging for my son to complete the exams, given the circumstances brought on by COVID-19, my family was grateful for the opportunity for him to complete the exams. Matthew is no doubt much better after having completed the exams. I'm proud of him for the results he obtained. He got 6 A's, 2 B's, and 1 C. And I'm even prouder because the Ministry of Education provided him the opportunity to grow as a responsible young adult that ignores peer pressure and excuses to not do his best. Thank you for absolute and sensible resolve in seeing these exams through to completion. Best regards, my family thanks you.
Life is filled with challenges, but this should never be an excuse to give up. Students, I was once in your shoes. As a matter of fact, all the odds were against me. My parents could not afford a college tuition, but I did not allow my circumstances to determine my outcome. With the help of my family and persons in the community, I looked for every opportunity to continue my learning. Because of my hard work and dedication to my schoolwork throughout primary and high school, I was one of the first high school graduates to receive the Ministry of Education's Public School Scholarship, which afforded me the opportunity to be the first member of my immediate family to obtain a college education. As a result, today, I am living out my dream as a successful accountant. You too can live out your dream. Do not allow this pandemic to stop your education. Take advantage of all of the resources afforded to you by the Ministry of Education. The ministry has secured devices and instructional packets for you to use at your advantage. Decide today that you are in control of your destiny.
Welcome back to Ed Table Talk Unplugged. The topic of discussion is how is the hybrid model working in our public schools? In this segment, joining us at the table are two very qualified individuals who are on the ground and doing what's absolutely necessary to facilitate this very unusual mode of learning. They're Mrs. Maneica Pratt, principal of E.P. Roberts Primary School, and Mrs. Betty Taylor, Vice Principal at Anatole Rogers. Ladies, thank you so much for being a part of our discussion today.
Thank you.
And you know, hybrid learning was definitely something new for all of us, and I'm sure a lot of work has gone into it. It must have been a tremendous task for you as administrators at the helm, ensuring that the process goes smoothly, taking into consideration all of the safety protocols, and well, you're going to tell us about that right now. Well, let's start with you, Ms. Taylor. How was that initial transition from the 100% virtual learning to the hybrid?
Okay, as Ms. Wilson spoke earlier, we started learning from last year with hybrid and virtual. Now, Anatole Rogers is a unique school, and we have grades 7 through 12. However, unlike some of the family islands with grades 7 through 12, we have over 1,400 students.
Wow.
So our hybrid does not look like any other hybrid out there. And so we had to take in consideration what model will work for us. We started looking at the 3-day model, the 3-day face-to-face. That didn't work because we didn't have sufficient teachers nor sufficient rooms. Then we looked at the 2-day model. That again would have put us at a disadvantage compared to the other schools. Mm-hmm. And so then we looked at junior and senior. Okay, juniors coming in 3 days for the first week and seniors coming in 2. Then the next week, seniors would come in 3 days and junior 2 days. Well, that too was, that as well was a challenge for us. Mm-hmm. And so then we looked at,
Yeah, but that's quite a few models.
Yeah, that's quite a few models.
So you had to go through quite a number of
things, yes, to get us to the point where we are now. When we looked at the juniors and seniors coming in, what happened was that we were using up all of our rooms. And we are a school that have both BGCSE and BJC classes going on. And so we could not use up all of our rooms with coursework coming up. So we had to jump to our plan B very quickly.
What a
Thankfully,
task.
because we were in planning, we already had a plan B there. And so that plan B is what the model that we're in right now. And that involves 3 sets of rotation. Rotation A with 7 and 10, rotation B with 8 and 12, 8 and 11, sorry, and rotation C with 9 and 12. And so they go on a rotation ABC, ABC. We had to try and quickly educate the public, educate our students and our teachers as to what this model would be like. And so far, it's going well. At Anatole Rogers, we have some exceptional teachers, and they are the quality teachers producing quality students. And so I thank God for them that they are hardworking and they've been working up to this point.
All I can say is wow. Hats off to you, because I don't want to be in your shoes, but you're doing a splendid job,
but
obviously.
we need a template for that for other schools.
Yes. Mrs. Pratt, let's move to you. You're at E.P. Roberts Primary, and I know the primary setting is totally different.
Totally different, yes. And like my colleague, Mrs. Taylor, would have alluded to, the planning stages, we would have started the planning process from last year. However, you know, information constantly changing, everything's changing, so you would plan for something, then you have to go back and you tweak. We were presented with a myriad of models as well, and you know, we had to choose something that would suit our school that is unique to E.P. Roberts Primary School. Hence, we have chosen the 2-day face-to-face, 3 days remote model. And what is unique about our model is we've made some modifications in that we have created intervention groups at every grade level. And so these groups are able to come in for a 3rd day of face-to-face instruction on a Friday. So our model is on Mondays and Wednesdays, we have our grades 1, 3, and 6 coming in. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have grades 2, 4, and 5 coming in. Then on Friday, we have all of our intervention groups. Now, these groups are comprised of students who had little, very little to no experience on the virtual learning platform. So we know that a learning gap does exist. And so in order to close that gap as best as we can, we are offering them the additional day of face-to-face instruction at E.P. Roberts Primary School. And I too want to commend my teaching staff. I have a dynamic group of teachers who are knowledgeable and innovative, and they are ready for whatever challenge that is we are faced with.
Well, tell us what are some of the challenges today, and are you getting the support to carry out the mission of education, even though you have noticed at your school the education divide?
Yes, we do have some challenges since transitioning into our hybrid model, which has been a smooth transition. We still have challenges with children not being able to access, because like I said, when children are not in school, when the grade levels are not in school, they are doing remote learning. This remote learning comprises of live instruction for the first half of the day, which means that there still must be some interaction with the teachers, followed by independent work in the afternoons. What we are finding is some children still cannot access the virtual learning because no internet access at home, okay, no electricity. And so we have had to make some modifications for those children. We have teachers who would invite small groupings to come into the school on those days so that they can have that access.
We have to really give a lot of thanks to
Yes.
the dedication of our teachers.
Yes.
Are you experiencing at Anatole Rogers the same issues?
Well, our issues are slightly different in that we have some kids who have never been on the virtual at all, and they're now just coming to register face-to-face. So we have our teachers now trying to set up after-school virtual sessions, and they're in competition trying to see what group of children they can actually assist in that area. And so up to yesterday, we had about 4 persons that showed up for the first time. And so we had to try and situate them into classes and everything else. First time from last year at all. And so that is some of the problems that we see at Anatole Rogers. One of the other issues is our shortage of teachers. That made it a little difficult for us, although our teachers are working it, they are working the plan. And so face-to-face, all of the teachers in the department are out, all of them are teaching at that time. However, when they go virtual or remote at home, we have it set up so that there are some subjects where it will be student-led at a student pace, and then the teachers are on different days as well, so as to give the teachers a time to regroup, because it's a lot going totally face-to-face for whatever class comes out on that day. You have to be prepared, and then you have some teachers who will have medical reasons why they cannot be to school, but those kids still have to be taught. So those teachers who are face-to-face have to now go and absorb all of that. And so we've used like rooms like our gymnasium for classes, our library for classes, because there's only so many kids that can hold inside of a classroom, and those overflow where we have the shortages, they still have the team teach inside of the gymnasium. So you have like 3 classes in there, and all 3 of the teachers are in there and they're working it. So
Wow.
yeah.
Thank you so much to
Yes.
the dedication of our teachers throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It's time for another break. Stay with us. More on this discussion on the hybrid model in our public schools when we return for our final segment.
While your children are in school, are you looking for a job? Do you realize you're never too old to continue learning? There are opportunities to retrain, retool, in order to learn a new skill, to get a job, or start a business.
In this environment where the world is turned upside down and some businesses may never come back and some businesses will be different when they do come back, many persons will have to re-engineer themselves. They're going to have to re-equip themselves. But BTVI is an excellent option where you can go and take certificate courses, where you can go and become certified in a variety of disciplines. And I do encourage, again, persons who may consider that schooling has been passed for them to really reconsider, because they're going to have to continue to learn and to continue to acquire new skills in order to negotiate the 21st century.
BTVI is ready to equip Bahamians to enter the job market or become self-employed.
The type of enrollment has changed. And so we're no longer seeing the traditional student coming in for the traditional semester and going forward towards a degree. Increasingly, we're seeing, as they are in other colleges and universities, students, and in fact some students are older, they're looking for what we call stackable credentials. So they'll pick up a course here, they'll pick up a course there that meets their schedule, not the traditional 16 weeks. And so I think what's going to happen post-COVID is there will be a continued move towards these shorter, focused courses that are specifically aimed at an opportunity for a job.
Parents, contact BTVI for more information. Remember, you're never too old to learn.
Welcome back to our final segment. You're watching Ed Table Talk Unplugged. We're about to wrap up our discussion with E.P. Roberts Primary Principal, Maneica Pratt, and Anatole Rogers Vice Principal, Betty Taylor. Ladies, as we conclude our discussions on the hybrid model, now it's working in our public schools, realizing that in order for this model to work successfully, you would definitely need the support of everyone involved. With that said, what is the involvement of parents in this process?
Parents, they are very important. I must say, through this whole process, our parents have been on us daily. When I was in virtual, I would wake up to WhatsApp messages of 30, sometimes 50 messages. If the parent if their child cannot get on within 5 minutes of a class, you could be sure a text was coming or a call was coming. And so they're on their kids. It's very important that they realize that when they're home, there's no free periods, that the day still goes on, because a Monday on virtual is the same as a Monday face-to-face. And so you have classes from 9 to 3, you have your break, you have your lunch break, and so therefore there's no free time. And if you see a child saying, oh, I have a free class, you need to call the school and find out what's going on.
Yes.
Because there's no free period.
Yes.
Okay? And so they need to also make sure that their assignments are submitted in a timely fashion. They're not always in face-to-face mode, so when they're home in the remote mode, they need to make sure those assignments are submitted in a timely fashion.
One thing we did not ask, there are still a few students without devices. What happens at your school in that event?
If they have no devices, when they come face-to-face, the teacher would make sure that they carry home some package so that they can complete the work that was issued for them to be at self-paced at home.
Have they been doing that?
They have to, because our teachers are on them. Our teachers set up WhatsApp groups for both children and their parents. They also email them. If they see that an assignment is not being submitted, they would email the parents. You would see some parents come and they would drop off the packages to say this is for the teacher and that sort of information. So yeah, we have to get our kids involved. And once parents do their part, it'll be good.
That's right. Your school is small, E.P. Roberts.
Yes.
What's your school population and how is the support of parents been at E.P. Roberts?
We have a total school population of 545 students, yes. Now, our parent population, I would say, is good, but it can be better. And that is something that we are constantly working on, because parents, they play a vital role in the educational growth and development of their children. Some of them don't realize that, but we have to, we preach that every day to them. So we are in constant communication with our parents. We have an open door policy. If there are issues, we encourage them to call. We try to solve everything. We don't leave any stone unturned. As it relates to tablet, if their children are lacking tablets, let us know. You come in and you get a tablet. We are still distributing tablets because tablets are being broken, lost, whatever, but we're not using that as an excuse. Yeah. So we are still distributing tablets. Students who are not accessing the portal, they are receiving hard copies. Children without uniforms, we have been able to assist 25 students courtesy of our guidance department. So we are leaving no stone unturned because we want parents to know, we want them to be accountable for their child's education. They're not going to use the excuse, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, that's why they're not coming. We take all the excuses away from them, and we will continue to do that because there's still a small portion of our parents we need to take a hold of. But it's a work in progress, and we will not take no for an answer.
Great, I like to hear that.
Yes.
Parents have no excuse.
No excuses.
No excuse, and it's admirable. I'm glad to hear the report that Anatole Rogers' parents are very supportive. They are very active. That's good news, because too often we hear the negative reports
Yes.
about parents not being involved in their children's education. So, hats off to those parents.
One question I wanted to ask. From time immemorial, there have been problem students.
Yes.
What's the situation today with problem students at Anatole?
Okay,
How do they fit into this equation of learning?
well, there's still rules that has to be followed.
Okay.
And so we ask our parents to please partner with us so that if the school or administrators make a stand on a particular situation, that they follow through with that. However, we have our guidance department that works well along with us. And so if there's an issue, first step is to involve them, and then we try and get the student the help that they need, because sometimes there's a lot of things that are going on at home, and it acts out when they come to the school surface. And sometimes you have to have counseling session with not only the kids, but also the parents. So we try to get that help first and deal with it on that level. Certain things are out of our control, and we have to let that work itself out. But the things that we can control, we try to make sure that it's done. You will always have some children trying to test the system.
Oh,
trying
yes.
to test.
Oh, yes.
We have kids, right, when they first come in, like Ms. Pratt said, we have no uniform, can we come in that? So guidance, they have provided uniforms. So you don't have to say, okay, I'm coming in this tennis or whatever. And then you have some children who would still show up on the day of school and said, okay, their hair is still not cut in the way it's supposed to be. Well, we have a barber store right across the road, and so we will go and get some funds for you.
There are no excuses.
Yes,
No
we'll go across
excuses.
there. Now, we also inform the parents of that decision, because some kids are on this journey, spiritual journey with their parents, and so we try to make sure, we're not trampling on any toes and that sort of thing, but we still have some who will try and test the waters.
There you go, there you go. Well,
Do we have time for just one final question?
I think we got the cue saying,
Okay.
make it quick.
Community involvement. Is there community involvement?
Yes, well, I can speak for the Angliston community. We have a good partnership with our community businesses in the neighboring community near the school. We also have a fantastic relationship with our Member of Parliament, the Honorable Glenys Anna Martin, who is always willing to assist us with whatever we need. And so we can boast of good community partnerships.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, ladies. You have the same thing at your school.
Yes, we actually have a couple of different persons that will help. We got some donations of masks, both from the Ministry of Education as well as from the Minister for the Carmichael area. We also got some hand sanitizers for the students as well. So our community has been working. Parents come and they donate gifts for persons who, like food items, for persons who can make the lunch. So.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's certainly been a pleasure discussing this topic with you today. Our time has come to an end. And for viewers, if you would like to receive frequent updates on what's happening in the Ministry of Education, subscribe to 819 BMOE. That's 819-2663. You can also visit our website or hit us up on Facebook. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and other social media platforms. Again, thank you so much, Mrs. Taylor and Mrs. Pratt, for being our guest. And on behalf of my co-host, Mrs. Adamo Williams, thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.